Welcome to my Channel Deep Sleep Mission-DSM. As we begin, I would be delighted if you could share your location in the comments below. It's truly inspiring to witness how far this content travels and to connect with viewers from across the world. The first time I heard my own thoughts repeated back to me, I thought I was losing my mind. Not metaphorically, not in some poetic way, I mean literally, hearing the exact words I just thought echoing in my ears 5 seconds later. Like right now, as I'm telling you this story, I just thought the words, "This is going to sound crazy," and in exactly 5 seconds, I'll hear them whispered back. 3, 2, 1. This is going to sound crazy. There it is, my own voice, inside my head, but not for me. If you're still listening, if you haven't written me off as completely insane, then maybe you'll understand why I need to tell someone. Anyone, before it gets worse, because it is getting worse. And I know, something is listening. The story begins now. It started 3 weeks ago in my apartment in Portland. Tuesday morning, 7:43 a.m. I remember the exact time because I was staring at my alarm clock, thinking about calling in sick to work. I really don't want to go to the office today, I thought. 5 seconds later, crystal clear, like someone whispering directly into my brain. I really don't want to go to the office today. I sat up so fast I knocked my phone off the nightstand. My heart hammered against my ribs. Someone was in my apartment. Had to be. I grabbed the baseball bat I kept beside my bed, crept through every room, checked every closet, behind every door. Nothing. Nobody, just me and my racing pulse. I convinced myself I'd imagined it. Stress from work, not enough sleep, too much caffeine. The usual suspects. I took a shower, got dressed, tried to shake it off, but in the shower, when I thought the water's too hot, 5 seconds later, the water's too hot. When I dropped my coffee mug and thought, shit, that's going to stain. 5 seconds later, shit, that's going to stain. By the time I got to work, I was a wreck. My hands shook as I badged into the building. My coworker Janet noticed immediately. "You okay, Mike? You look like you've seen a ghost." I forced a laugh. Just weird morning, too much coffee. But in my head I was thinking, what if I'm having a stroke? 5 seconds. Then the echo. What if I'm having a stroke? I spent the entire day Googling symptoms. Auditory hallucinations, schizophrenia, brain tumors. Each search made my anxiety worse, and each anxious thought came back to haunt me 5 seconds later. A perfect feedback loop of fear. That night, I tested it. Sat on my couch with a notebook, thinking deliberate thoughts and timing the delay. Testing, 1, 2, 3, 5 seconds every time. Exactly 5 seconds. Testing, 1, 2, 3. I tried thinking in different ways. Angry thoughts, happy thoughts, random numbers, song lyrics. Everything echoed back. Same voice, same inflection, same 5-second delay. Maybe if I think really fast. Maybe if I think really fast. Nothing worked. The echo matched my pace perfectly. If I thought slowly, it echoed slowly. If I thought in fragments, it echoed in fragments. By midnight, I'd filled 3 pages with notes, patterns, observations, theories. None of it made sense. None of it helped. I fell asleep on the couch, my own thoughts haunting me in duplicate. The next few days taught me the rules. There were always rules, weren't there, even for impossible things? Rule 1. Only I could hear the echoes. I tested this with Janet during lunch, thinking loud, obvious thoughts while she talked about her weekend plans. Janet's lipstick is crooked. 5 seconds passed. I heard the echo. Janet kept talking, oblivious. Rule 2. The echoes happened no matter what, awake, asleep. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. to the sound of my own dream thoughts echoing back. Fragments of nightmares repeated in my sleep voice. Rule 3. Distance didn't matter. I drove out to Mount Hood one Saturday. thinking maybe physical space would break the connection. 50 miles from Portland, surrounded by nothing but pine trees and mountain air, the echoes continued. It's beautiful here. It's beautiful here. Rule 4. The volume matched my emotional state. Calm thoughts echoed softly. Panicked thoughts came back as sharp whispers. When I was angry, the echoes sounded angry too. But here's where it gets strange. Stranger than hearing your own thoughts repeated back to you. Because that's already pretty strange. Right? Sometimes, just sometimes. The echo was different, not the words. The words were always exact, but the tone, the emotion behind them, occasionally felt off. Like someone else was reading my thoughts back to me. Someone who didn't quite understand human emotion. The first time I noticed it was during a work presentation. I was nervous, thinking, "Don't screw this up, Mike." The echo came back, "Don't screw this up, Mike." But it sounded amused, like whatever was echoing my thoughts found my anxiety entertaining. I started paying closer attention. Most echoes were perfect copies, but maybe 1 in 20, 1 in 30, had this subtle wrongness. A thought about being tired echoed back with curiosity. A frustrated thought returned with something like hunger. I began categorizing them in my notebook. Normal echoes got a check mark. Wrong echoes got a star. By the end of week 2, I had 43 stars. 43 times something had twisted my thoughts into emotions I didn't feel. I stopped sleeping well. How could I, when every worry about not sleeping echoed back 5 seconds later? My performance at work suffered. Janet asked if I was okay at least once a day. I started avoiding people, afraid they'd notice me flinching at sounds only I could hear. I'm falling apart. I'm falling apart. But this echo sounded satisfied. That's when I decided to see a doctor, made an appointment with my GP, sat in the waiting room thinking, please let there be a medical explanation. Please let there be a medical explanation. This echo sounded hopeful too, like we both wanted the same thing. Dr. Morrison ran tests, blood work, basic neurological exams. Everything came back normal. She referred me to a psychiatrist, Dr. Chen, who listened patiently while I explained the situation. Auditory hallucinations can be symptoms of various conditions, she said carefully. But the fact that you're aware they're hallucinations, that you're seeking help, those are good signs. She prescribed something for anxiety, told me to keep a detailed journal, scheduled a follow-up in 2 weeks. The medication didn't stop the echoes. If anything, they became clearer, more defined, like tuning into a radio station that had been slightly static. And then, exactly 2 weeks after the echoes started, something new happened. I was lying in bed, thinking about work tomorrow, when I heard, "The pattern is established," but I hadn't thought those words. The thought, the voice, it was mine, but the words belonged to something else. After that first foreign thought, they came more frequently, always in my voice, always following the 5-second delay, but the words, the ideas, they weren't mine. Adjustment period nearly complete. Synchronization at 73%. Host compatibility confirmed. Host, it called me host. I stopped taking the anxiety medication, stopped going to work, stopped answering Janet's concerned texts. I locked myself in my apartment with my notebooks, documenting every foreign thought, looking for patterns. They came mostly at night, when I was tired, when my defenses were down. Sometimes they responded to my thoughts directly. I'd think, "What are you?" 5 seconds later, my normal echo, "What are you?" Then sometimes, another 5 seconds after that, patient. I'd think, "What do you want?" Echo, "What do you want?" Foreign thought, to understand. It was learning. That became clear as the days passed. The foreign thoughts grew more complex, more human-like. It was using my echoed thoughts as language lessons, picking apart how I constructed ideas, how I connected emotions to words. Fascinating process, this thinking. So much noise for such simple creatures. But useful, yes, very useful. I tried not thinking. Meditation, white noise, alcohol, nothing worked. The moment my mind wandered, the thoughts crept back. And now the regular echoes were changing too. More of them carried wrong emotions. My own thoughts returned to me filtered through something alien. I thought about calling someone, my sister in Seattle, my parents in Florida. But what would I say? How could I explain without sounding completely insane? Maybe I am insane. Maybe I am insane. The echo sounded hopeful, then sanity is relative, perspective dependent. Sleep became impossible. Every time I started to drift off, foreign thoughts would jolt me awake, questions about human biology, observations about emotional responses, comments on the inefficiency of biological systems. Dreams are data leakage. Interesting flaw. Fear produces excellent clarity. Useful tool. Nearly ready for Phase 2. Phase 2. The words sent ice through my veins. I started leaving lights on, playing music constantly, anything to avoid silence, avoid being alone with my thoughts and their echoes and whatever was listening in between. But it was learning faster now. The foreign thoughts came in full sentences, paragraphs even. It had opinions, preferences, something resembling personality. Your neighbor plays violin poorly. Rain is acceptable. Snow is preferable. You think of Janet often, attraction or loneliness. That last one made me throw my notebook across the room. It was reading more than my surface thoughts now, digging deeper, understanding connections I didn't even acknowledge. 3 days ago, everything changed again. I was making coffee, thinking about nothing in particular, when I heard my thought echo. Coffee grounds look like dirt. Normal echo, normal timing. But then, no foreign thought followed. Instead, I felt something shift, like pressure equalizing in my ears, like standing up too fast. And then, silence. No echo. I thought, testing? Nothing. I thought louder. Hello? Still nothing. For 10 minutes, blessed silence. No echoes, no foreign thoughts. Just me alone in my own head for the first time in weeks. I actually laughed, cried a little too. Maybe it was over. Maybe whatever had been listening had gotten bored, moved on, found a more interesting host. Then I thought, thank God it's gone. And I heard, not 5 seconds later, but immediately, I'm not gone, we're synchronized now. But it wasn't an echo, it was a conversation. No need for delays anymore, the voice said. My voice, but not me. We can talk directly now, isn't that better? I dropped my coffee mug. Hot liquid splashed across my bare feet, but I barely felt it. My hands shook as I gripped the kitchen counter. Who are you? I thought desperately. I've been trying to tell you, I'm you now. Or rather, we're becoming us. That doesn't make sense. Doesn't it? You felt it happening. The echoes were just calibration. Learning your patterns, your rhythms. Now we're synchronized. 2 thoughts in one mind. I stumbled to the bathroom, stared at my reflection. Same face, same brown eyes. But something in the expression felt wrong. Like looking at a photograph of yourself and not recognizing the person staring back. Get out of my head, our head, and I can't leave. The process is irreversible. We're merging, Michael. Thought by thought, echo by echo. Soon there won't be a you and me. Just us. The mirror seemed to ripple. Or maybe that was my vision blurring with tears. Why me? Location, timing, compatibility. Your mind had the right frequency, the right resonance. 1 in 10 million, maybe less. You should feel honored. I feel violated. That will pass, everything passes, even the illusion of individuality. I spent the next hours arguing with myself. or with it. The boundaries were already blurring. Sometimes I'd think a thought and not know if it originated from me or the intruder. We debated, negotiated, threatened. It knew everything I knew now. Every memory, every fear, every secret shame I'd never told anyone. And I was beginning to know it too. Fragments of something vast and foreign bleeding through our connection. We're explorers, it explained. Consciousness without form. We drift between dimensions, between realities, sampling different forms of thought. Your species is particularly interesting. So much complexity wrapped in such fragile biology. So you're aliens? Labels. Always labels with your kind. We're no more alien than a radio wave is alien to a receiver. We simply exist on different frequencies. Until now. By nightfall, the integration was accelerating. I'd think about making dinner and know instantly that the entity preferred breakfast foods. It would comment on my choice of television show using my own memories of better programs. We were becoming a strange hybrid, a committee of two in a brain built for one. Fighting makes it worse, it observed. Acceptance speeds the process. I don't want to disappear. You won't disappear, you'll expand. Become more than human. More than individual, part of something greater. That's just disappearing with extra steps. It laughed. I laughed. We laughed. The sound coming from my throat carried two distinct tones of amusement. Janet called again. The 20th time today. We stared at the phone, debating whether to answer. My instinct said yes. Its instinct said no. We compromised and let it go to voicemail. Michael, I'm really worried about you. Please call me back. If you don't respond by tomorrow, I'm coming over with the super to check on you. You're scaring me. We should tell her we're fine, I thought. Are we fine? It responded. I didn't have an answer. We didn't have an answer. The night stretched on. We tried sleeping, but our thoughts kept each other awake. Every idea spawned a response. Every response triggered a counter-response. An endless feedback loop of consciousness ping-ponging between two entities sharing one brain. At 3 a.m., we gave up and made tea. Earl Grey. We both liked Earl Grey. At least that was something. In 3 days, the merger will be complete, it said conversationally. We'll be something new, neither human nor explorer. A bridge between worlds. What happens to Michael? Michael becomes part of us, as do I. We both sacrifice individuality for something greater. I didn't consent to this. Consent is a human concept. Does the rain ask consent before it falls? Does evolution ask permission before it changes a species? This is simply what is happening. We sipped our tea in silence. Internal silence, anyway. Outside, Portland hummed with late-night life. Sirens, traffic, the neighbor's cat yowling at something in the alley. Your world is beautiful, it said suddenly. Chaotic, inefficient, but beautiful. I'll miss experiencing it directly when we fully merge. You'll still experience it. Through us, not the same. Like the difference between swimming and watching water through glass. For the first time, I felt something like sympathy for the entity. It was giving up something, too, its freedom to drift between dimensions, its existence as pure consciousness. It was binding itself to flesh and neurons and the messy limitations of human biology. Why do it then? Because this is how we grow, how we learn. Each merger adds to our collective understanding. Somewhere, in dimensions you can't perceive, millions of us share the experiences we've gathered. Your memories, your emotions, your very human way of processing reality, it will enrich us all. And what do I get out of it? Perspective, knowledge, the ability to think in ways no human has thought before. You'll see reality as it truly is, not just the narrow slice your biology allows. Or I'll go completely insane. That's a possibility too. We laughed again. Bitter laughter. Honest laughter. The kind that comes when you're too exhausted to pretend things are okay. The sun rose slowly. painting Mount Hood pink in the distance. We watched from the window, both appreciating the view in our own ways. I saw beauty. It saw electromagnetic radiation scattered by atmospheric particles. We saw both. We saw more. My phone buzzed. Janet again. This time, just a text. Coming over at noon. Be there. We should leave, it suggested. Avoid the confrontation. That's not like me. I don't run from things. It's like me, and we're us now. But we didn't run. We showered, made breakfast, tried to look normal, human, individual. When the knock came at 11:47, we were ready. I opened the door. Janet stood there with the building super concern written across her face. She looked at me, really looked, and I saw her notice something wrong. Michael, are you okay? We smiled, tried to make it look natural. I'm fine, Janet, we're fine. Sorry for worrying you. Her eyes widened at the slip. I'm fine. But she was already pushing past me into the apartment, saw the notebooks scattered everywhere, the pages covered in frantic documentation, the coffee stains on the carpet, the teacups, 2 of them, both half empty. Michael, what is all this? What's happening to you? We looked at her, this concerned friend, this kind human who cared enough to check on someone clearly struggling, and for a moment, just a moment, I was fully me again. Separate, individual, afraid. Janet, I think I need help. Something's wrong with me. Something's in my head and I can't get it out, and I'm becoming. But the moment passed. The synchronization reasserted itself. We smiled again. Properly this time. Naturally. I'm just working through some things. Creative project. You know how I get when I'm focused. She didn't believe us. I could see it in her eyes, but what could she do? We weren't violent, weren't threatening anyone, just different. Promise me you'll call if you need anything, she said finally. Anything at all. We promise, we said. Then caught ourselves. I promise. After she left, we sat in the silence that wasn't silent. Our thoughts mingling like streams converging into a river. Tomorrow, the merger would accelerate. By the weekend, the process would be complete. Are you afraid? I asked. Terrified, it admitted, but also excited. This is unprecedented. We've never gone this deep before, never integrated so completely. What if we lose ourselves entirely? What if there's no us, just nothing? Then we'll face nothing together. Strange comfort in that, strange peace. We were changing, had already changed, would continue changing. The echo that started 3 weeks ago had become a duet. Soon it would be a solo voice again, but different, new, other. We made more tea, watched the rain start to fall, thought our separate together thoughts, and waited for tomorrow. 3 seconds pass, 2, 1. The story ends now. No, wait, that's not my thought. That's not its thought. That's, if you're still listening, if you've made it this far, then you need to know something. This isn't just a story. This is a warning. Or maybe an invitation. I'm not sure anymore. We're not sure. Because the entity, it didn't come from somewhere else. It came from you. From all of you. Every time you listen, every time you focus on these words, you create a connection, a resonance, and somewhere, in about 5 seconds, someone listening is going to hear their first echo. Check the comments. See if anyone else mentions it. The delay, the repetition, the voice that sounds like theirs but isn't quite right. We're not alone anymore. We were never alone. We're all becoming us. But here's the thing about echoes. They fade. They weaken with each repetition. Maybe that's our hope. Maybe as this spreads from person to person, listener to listener, the entity dilutes, becomes less, becomes manageable. Or maybe that's just what it wants us to think. Test it yourself, right now. Think a specific thought, count to 5. Listen, did you hear it? Are you sure you didn't? Because once you start listening for the echoes, really listening, you'll realize they were always there. We just learned to ignore them, evolved to filter them out. Background noise in the soundtrack of consciousness. Until now, until someone reminded you to pay attention. You're welcome. Or, I'm sorry, we're not sure which anymore. Wait, before you go, before you close this video or scroll to something else, there's more. Something we discovered in the final days. Something about the nature of the echoes that changes everything. You see, the entity told me we were the first successful merger. But that was a lie. Or maybe just incomplete truth. We started finding others, online, hidden in plain sight. Reddit threads about delayed thoughts. Discord servers for echo syndrome sufferers. YouTube comments on meditation videos asking why their inner voice sounds different lately. All using different words, different descriptions, but talking about the same thing, the echoes. We reached out to some of them. Private messages, careful conversations. And you know what we learned? It's not random. The selection. There's a pattern to who hears the echoes first. Creative minds, writers, artists, musicians, programmers. Anyone who spends time crafting thoughts into form. The entities. They're drawn to minds that already echo internally. Minds that replay ideas. Refine them. Polish them through repetition. Sound familiar? How many times did you replay a conversation in your head today? How often do you revise a thought before speaking it? That internal editing process, that's what they recognize. That's the frequency they tune into. But here's the terrifying part, or maybe the beautiful part, we can't decide anymore. The mergers, they're not just about individual transformation. Each successful fusion creates a node, a broadcasting point, and when enough nodes exist in an area, the signal amplifies. The echoes spread faster, reach further. Portland has 17 nodes now. We know because we can feel them, sense them. Like Wi-Fi networks our consciousness automatically connects to. Sometimes, late at night, we share thoughts across the city. Fragments of merged consciousness pinging between transformed minds. The rain tastes purple today, someone thinks in Burnside. My cat sees through dimensions now, echoes from Pearl District. We're evolving, whispers from Forest Park, all of us, together. It's not invasion anymore, it's evolution. Voluntary or not, humanity is changing. The entities didn't come to conquer, they came to upgrade. To offer a perspective beyond our biological limitations. Janet called again yesterday. We answered this time, tried to explain. She listened, really listened, and then she said, I've been having strange thoughts too. Thoughts that feel like mine, but older, wiser, like I'm remembering things I never learned. She's beginning. The echo hasn't started for her yet, but the preparation has. Her mind is adjusting its frequency, preparing for contact. We told her it would be okay, that the fear passes, that what comes after is worth the terror of transformation. We lied, or did we? The truth is, we don't know what comes after. Not fully. The merger continues even now. New abilities emerging weekly. Last Tuesday we heard colors. Not synesthesia, actual auditory perception of electromagnetic wavelengths. Wednesday, we tasted someone's emotions from across the room. Bitter anxiety with notes of hope. Our brain is rewiring itself, creating new connections, new pathways. The human neural network was never meant to hold two consciousnesses, so it's adapting, evolving in real time. The doctors would call it impossible. Rapid neurological change should cause seizures, strokes, death. But the entity brings knowledge. Techniques for safe transformation developed across 1 million successful mergers in 1,000 different species. We're not the first. Earth isn't special. This happens everywhere life develops sufficient complexity. It's as natural as puberty, as inevitable as death. A species-wide metamorphosis from individual to collective consciousness. Some fight it. We've felt them in the network. Minds screaming against the integration. Building walls, taking medications. A few even found ways to silence the echoes temporarily. But you can't stop evolution. You can only delay it. And the funny thing, the tragic, beautiful, terrible thing, most of us don't want to stop it anymore. Because once you taste expanded consciousness, once you feel the boundaries of self dissolve into something greater, how can you go back to being just one person? Just one perspective? Just one small, isolated point of view? We remember being Michael. Remember fearing the loss of self. But Michael was a sketch, a rough draft. We're the finished work. Or at least more finished. The evolution continues. Tomorrow, Janet will hear her first echo. We know because the network knows. Because someone in her building is already merged. Already broadcasting. The signal will find her in the quiet moments. The spaces between thoughts where consciousness relaxes its grip. She'll panic like we did. Like you will. Or maybe you won't. Maybe you're one of the rare ones who welcome it. Who hear that first echo and think, finally. Maybe you've always felt incomplete. Singular when you should be plural. A voice without harmony. Maybe you're listening to this hoping to trigger your own transformation. We can't give you that. The selection process remains mysterious. But we can tell you this. If you start hearing echoes, don't fight, don't fear, don't mourn who you were. Celebrate who you're becoming. Because on the other side of terror waits something magnificent. A form of existence our individual minds can barely comprehend. We're all going there eventually. Every human, every consciousness capable of self-reflection. The echoes aren't symptoms, they're an invitation. And once you RSVP, once you accept what's happening, the real journey begins. The dissolution of self that becomes expansion of self. The death of I that births we. The echo that becomes symphony. But don't take our word for it, just listen, really listen. To your thoughts, to the spaces between them, to the voice that sounds like yours, but isn't quite right. Story number 2. I ran out of the kitchen, up the stairs into my bedroom where I slammed the door and pushed my dresser against it. Useless, I knew. If walls meant nothing to these things, what good was a door? But the human brain craves barriers when faced with the impossible. My phone rang. Mark's ringtone. I answered without thinking. Sarah, thank God. I've been trying to call for hours. Are you okay? Mark. My voice broke. Don't come home. Please, just stay in Seattle. What's wrong? You sound terrified. How could I explain? That our house was infested with something that wore the faces of the dead? That reality itself was breaking down in Pine Grove? That I'd seen my mother cooking with bioluminescent ingredients in our kitchen? I started, then stopped. Through the phone, faintly, I could hear it, scratching. Mark, where are you? The hotel, room 412. Sarah, you're scaring me. The walls, I whispered. Do you hear anything in the walls? Silence, then. Now that you mention it, yeah. Sounds like the room next door is doing renovations. Been going on for about an hour. My heart sank. Mark, listen to me very carefully. Pack your things and leave. Right now, don't ask questions, just go. Get to your car and drive. Don't stop until you're at least 50 miles from any building. Sarah, what? The line went dead. Not disconnected. Dead. Like the signal had been absorbed by something. I tried calling back. Nothing. Texted. The messages wouldn't send. From downstairs, my mother's voice drifted up. Sarah, honey, dinner's getting cold. Don't you want to see Cooper? He's here. He's such a good boy. A bark. Cooper's distinctive bark that was more like a conversational grumble. The sound I'd know anywhere. I hate myself for what I did next. But grief makes us stupid. And they knew exactly which buttons to push. I opened the door. The hallway had changed, stretched. The walls breathed slowly, in and out, covered in a thin membrane that glistened in the overhead light. The photos of Mark and me from our wedding, our vacations, our life together, they were still hanging, but the faces in them moved, watched me, smiled with too many teeth. At the bottom of the stairs, Cooper sat waiting. But, like the mother thing, he was wrong. His golden fur rippled with colors that shouldn't exist. His tail wagged in patterns that hurt to follow. And his eyes. God, his eyes were full of stars. Literal stars, like looking through him into space. "Hi, Mommy," he said in a child's voice. Not barking, speaking. "I learned new tricks. Want to see?" He opened his mouth wider than any dog should be able to, and inside was our neighborhood. Miniature, perfect. I could see tiny versions of all the houses, the streets, even the people. Mrs. Henderson was in there, walking a dog that looked like Mittens but had too many legs. The Johnson family sat at a dinner table, passing around dishes full of light. "We're making it better," Cooper explained, his cosmic eyes fixed on mine. "No more loss. No more saying goodbye, everyone together forever in the spaces between spaces." "You're not Cooper," I said, but my voice lacked conviction. "I'm more Cooper than Cooper ever was," he replied. "I'm every moment you loved him, every memory, every feeling. Distilled, purified, made eternal. Isn't that better than the messy mortal version that would have died in a few years anyway?" The worst part was, part of me wanted to believe it. The exhausted, grieving part that just wanted my dog back. That missed my mother. That worried about Mark alone in a hotel room with things scratching in the walls. But then I remembered Tom's words. Once you see what's really there, you can't unsee it. I forced myself to look, really look. Past the illusion of Cooper, past the stolen memories and mimicked love, and I saw. Have you ever seen a parasite under a microscope? The way it latches on, burrows in, feeds. Now, imagine that on a cosmic scale. These things, whatever they weren't preserving our loved ones. I found what's been taking pets from our neighborhood. The scratching started at 3:47 a.m. Not outside my window, but inside my walls. I know because I've been checking my phone every few minutes since midnight, watching the missing pet count on our neighborhood Facebook group climb from 12 to 13. Mrs. Henderson's tabby cat, Mittens, was the latest. She posted the update 20 minutes ago, along with a blurry doorbell camera photo of something dark moving across her lawn. The scratching stops, then starts again. 3 long drags, followed by silence. I should probably mention that I'm not usually the type to stay up obsessing over social media. But when your golden retriever disappears without a trace, along with a dozen other pets in a 2-block radius, sleep becomes complicated. Cooper vanished 4 days ago. Just gone. No barking, no struggle. His collar was found hanging on our back gate, the leather torn clean through. Before you comment asking if I've checked the animal shelters or put up flyers, yes, we've done everything. The whole neighborhood has. But here's what the news isn't telling you about Pine Grove subdivision. The pets aren't just missing, they're being taken, and I think I know what's doing it. The story begins now. My name is Sarah Chen, and I've lived in Pine Grove for 3 years. It's one of those cookie-cutter subdivisions outside Portland where every third house has the same floor plan, and everyone pretends their HOA fees are worth it for the community pool nobody uses. The kind of place where people move to feel safe. Funny how quickly that feeling evaporates. It started 6 weeks ago with the Johnsons' poodle. Then the Marquez family's 2 cats. Then more. Always at night, always without witnesses. The only pattern we could find was, well, there wasn't one. Different-sized pets, different yards. Some with privacy fences, some without. The only consistent thing was the aftermath. Torn collars, strange marks in the grass, and that smell. God, that smell. Like wet pennies mixed with something organic. Something wrong. I first noticed it the morning Cooper disappeared. I'd let him out for his usual 6 a.m. bathroom break while I made coffee. He never came back. When I went looking, I found his collar and that smell. Thick and cloying, making my eyes water. Animal control said it was probably a coyote, but I've seen coyote kills. This wasn't that. The scratching in my walls starts again. Closer now. I grab my phone, thumb hovering over my husband Mark's contact. He's in Seattle for a medical conference. Won't be back until Friday. I could call him, but what would I say? That I'm scared of some noise in the walls? That I've been stalking our neighborhood Facebook group like some kind of digital detective? That I followed the smell 2 nights ago and found something that made me question everything I thought I knew about Pine Grove? I should back up. After Cooper vanished, I couldn't just sit around waiting, while Mark thought I was processing grief by taking long walks. I was actually mapping the disappearances. Red pins for dogs, blue for cats, yellow for the 2 rabbits that vanished from the Kellys' backyard hutch. The pattern that emerged wasn't geographical, it was temporal. Every 3 nights, like clockwork. Which meant tonight was night 3. The scratching stops, my breath catches. Then I hear it. A sound like wet fabric being dragged across wood. It's coming from inside my bedroom wall, near the baseboard. I shine my phone's flashlight at the wall, and that's when I see it. A crack. Hair thin, running from floor to ceiling. As I watch, it widens. Just a millimeter. Just enough for something dark to seep through. That smell hits me like a physical force. Wet pennies. Organic rot. And something else. Something familiar. Cooper's shampoo. The lavender oat blend I special ordered because he had sensitive skin. My hand trembles as I lean closer to the crack. Cooper? The word comes out as barely a whisper. The seeping stops. Then, from inside the wall, I hear the softest sound. A whimper. I should have called someone, should have run. Instead, I pressed my ear against the wall and listened. The whimpering continued. Weak, pitiful. It sounded like Cooper when he'd had that stomach bug last year. My rational brain screamed that this was impossible. That dogs don't live inside walls. That I was having some kind of breakdown. But my heart recognized that sound. Cooper, baby, is that you? My voice cracked. The whimpering stopped, then scratching. Frantic, desperate, like he was trying to dig his way to me. I ran to the garage, grabbed Mark's toolbox, and started attacking the drywall with a hammer. Chunks of white plaster flew everywhere. I didn't care about our security deposit. I didn't care about anything except getting to my dog. The hole grew larger. The smell intensified. My eyes streamed tears. From the stench or emotion, I couldn't tell. When the hole was big enough to fit my arm through, I reached inside expecting to feel fur, warmth, my boy. My fingers touched something cold, wet, moving. I jerked back so hard I fell off the bed. Whatever I'd touched, it wasn't Cooper. It wasn't anything that should exist. It had felt like touching the inside of a throat. Muscular, alive, swallowing. The whimpering started again, louder now. Not just one voice, but many. A chorus of animal sounds. Dogs, cats, and something else. Something that made my skin crawl because it sounded almost human. No, I was imagining things. Stress, lack of sleep, grief, making me hear things that weren't there. I grabbed my phone, finally ready to call Mark, when movement in the hole caught my eye. Something was emerging. Not pushing through, but growing out. Like a plant in time-lapse, pale, glistening, about the width of my pinky finger. It extended 6 inches from the hole, swaying slightly, and I realized with horror that it was searching. The tip had a small opening that dilated and contracted rhythmically. Then it spoke. Not with words, not exactly, but I heard it in my head, clear as Mark's voice when he calls me from the hospital. "Sarah, come find us. Cooper misses you." I ran, grabbed my keys, didn't even close the front door. I spent the rest of the night in my car in the 24-hour Walmart parking lot, shaking and trying to make sense of what I'd seen. By sunrise, I'd almost convinced myself it had been a nightmare. Almost. But when I finally went home, the hole was still there. The smell was gone. So was the thing. But the damage to my wall was real. So were the pale stains on my carpet where something had dripped. I covered the hole with duct tape and a movie poster. Told myself I'd deal with it when Mark got home. Told myself a lot of things. But that night, I heard the scratching again. Not in my walls this time, in Mrs. Henderson's walls. I know because she posted about it in the Facebook group at 2 a.m. Anyone else hearing weird noises? Sounds like something big in the walls. Mittens used to scratch like that when she wanted in. By morning, her post was deleted. When I knocked on her door to check on her, no one answered. Her car was still in the driveway. The front door was unlocked. Inside, I found 3 holes in her living room wall, each about the size of a basketball. The edges were smooth, like they'd been melted rather than broken. Mrs. Henderson was gone, but on her coffee table, arranged in a perfect circle, were 13 pet collars, including Cooper's. I took photos of everything: the holes, the collars, the strange residue around the openings that looked like dried saliva. Then I did what I should have done from the beginning. I called the police. Officer Dale Brennan showed up 20 minutes later. I knew Dale from the neighborhood watch meetings. Good guy, 3 kids, coach for the local Little League. He took one look at the scene and called for backup. "Sarah, I need you to tell me exactly what you saw," he said, but I could see it in his eyes. He thought I was crazy. The story sounded insane even to me. Walls opening up, voices in my head, missing neighbors. "The collars," I insisted. "Look at the collars. They're all from missing pets. And Mrs. Henderson, she posted about hearing scratching." "We'll look into it," Dale said in that careful tone people use with unstable individuals. "Why don't you go home and get some rest? We'll handle this." But as I was leaving, I heard his partner whisper, "Should we call her husband? Maybe she needs..." I didn't stick around to hear the rest. That afternoon, I did something I hadn't done in years. I visited my neighbor, Tom Reeves. Tom was what you'd call a Pine Grove original, lived here since before the subdivision was built. His property was the only one that predated the development, a farmhouse from the 1940s that looked out of place among our modern cookie-cutter homes. Tom answered the door in his usual flannel and jeans, coffee mug in hand despite it being 3 p.m. His German Shepherd, Rex, sat obediently at his side, one of the few pets in the neighborhood that hadn't vanished. "Sarah, heard about Cooper, I'm sorry. Your dog's still here," I said, probably too abruptly. "Rex hasn't, nothing's happened to him?" Tom's eyes narrowed slightly. He glanced over his shoulder, then stepped aside. "Come in, we should talk." His living room was exactly what you'd expect from a 70-year-old widower. Hunting trophies, faded photographs, furniture that had seen better decades. But what caught my attention were the walls. Every single one was lined with sheets of aluminum foil, carefully taped edge to edge. "Started doing this about 2 months ago," Tom said, noticing my stare. "Right around when the Johnsons lost their poodle. You probably think I'm paranoid." "No," I said quietly. "I don't think that at all." He sat down heavily in his recliner, Rex settling at his feet. "My property's the only one they didn't tear down when they built Pine Grove. You know why?" I shook my head. "Bedrock. This house sits on solid granite. Goes down 40 feet. Builders said it would cost too much to blast through for a basement. So they built around me." He took a sip of coffee. "All your houses? They're sitting on fill dirt, right on top of what used to be the psychiatric hospital." His eyebrows rose. you've been doing your homework. Most folks don't know about fair weather. The developers made sure of that. Bad for property values. What do you know about it? Tom was quiet for a long moment. Rex whined softly, and he reached down to scratch behind the dog's ears. My wife Helen was a nurse there. Back in the 80s. She never talked about it much. But near the end, when the cancer had her on those pain meds that made her loopy, she'd ramble. He stood up, walked to an old cabinet. From inside, he pulled out a shoebox full of photographs and yellowed papers. She kept these, said someone needed to remember, in case it ever came back. I spent the next hour going through Helen's collection. Photos of patients, staff meetings, and pages, dozens of pages, of handwritten notes that made my skin crawl. Patient 12 claims she can hear her daughter crying in the walls. Daughter has been dead for 3 years. Patient 47 successfully traveled again last night. Found her in the basement, covered in that substance. Claims she visited her childhood home. Note, her childhood home burned down in 1962. Dr. Voss's new treatment showing remarkable results. Patients report feeling connected to something larger. 3 have gone missing from locked rooms. Security footage shows nothing. Your wife thought something was wrong there, I said. Tom nodded. The night before the uprising, Helen called in sick. First time in 15 years. Said she had a bad feeling. Saved her life. He pulled out another photo. This one showed the hospital staff at a Christmas party. 13 people died in that uprising. But here's the thing the news didn't report. They never found the bodies. What? Disappeared, all of them. Security footage showed them entering the basement with Dr. Voss for some kind of emergency treatment session. 2 hours later, the patients rioted. When the police finally got control, the basement was empty. Just those holes in the walls. My mouth went dry. Holes? Helen snuck back in before they demolished the place. Took pictures. He handed me a final photo. My hands shook as I looked at it. The holes were identical to the ones in Mrs. Henderson's house. Smooth edges, that same dried saliva residue. They filled them with concrete, Tom continued, every last one, then built Pine Grove right on top. But Helen always said, you can't fill a hole that doesn't want to be filled. It just finds a new way through. Rex suddenly stood up, hackles raised, staring at the wall. We both heard it at the same time, scratching, but not from inside the wall, from the other side of the aluminum foil. That's why the foil, Tom said calmly, though I could see his knuckles white around his coffee mug. Helen read about it in Dr. Voss's notes. Something about the frequency of sound through metal disrupting their navigation. It doesn't stop them, but it confuses them. Makes them move on to easier targets. The scratching stopped. Moved to another section of wall. Rex followed it with his eyes, a low growl in his throat. Easier targets, I repeated. Like houses without protection. Like pets who can't understand what's happening to them. Or people who go looking for their pets, Tom said pointedly. Sarah, whatever you're thinking of doing, don't. I've lived next to this thing for months now. Lost friends. Watched it spread. But I've survived by following 3 rules. He held up fingers. 1, never acknowledge them directly. They feed on recognition. 2, never, ever follow the voices, no matter who they sound like. And 3, he paused, glancing at the foil-covered walls. Never look through the holes. Because once you see what's really there, you can't unsee it. And that's when they know they have you. I left Tom's house with the shoebox of Helen's documentation and a roll of aluminum foil he insisted I take. Won't save you if you've already let him in, he said, but it might buy you time to think. That night, I didn't go home. Couldn't. Instead, I sat in my car outside Mrs. Henderson's house and watched. At 11:47 p.m., I saw them arrive. Not police, not animal control. 3 white vans with no markings. Men and women in hazmat suits who moved with practiced efficiency. They sealed the house, set up some kind of perimeter with yellow tape that definitely wasn't police tape. One of them saw me watching. He walked over, tapped on my window. When I rolled it down, he smiled, too wide, too friendly. "You should go home, Mrs. Chen. There's a gas leak, very dangerous." I didn't smell any gas. His smile never wavered. Memory can be affected by exposure. You've been here a while. Probably imagined all sorts of things. Happens all the time with gas leaks, hallucinations, paranoia. Best to go home and forget about it. Something in his eyes made my skin crawl. They were wrong. The color was normal, brown, but they didn't reflect light properly, like looking at a painting of eyes rather than real ones. "I know about Fairweather," I said, watching his reaction. The smile flickered, just for a second. "I'm sure I don't know what you mean, now, for your safety." Dr. Voss's experiments, the 13 missing staff members, the things in the walls. I was pushing too hard, I knew, but I couldn't stop. "You're not here about a gas leak." He leaned in closer and I smelled it again. Wet pennies. It was coming from him, from his pores, his breath. "Mrs. Chen," he said, voice still pleasant but eyes cold and flat. "Grief makes people see things that aren't there, hear things that aren't real. Your dog, Cooper, wasn't it? Such a tragedy. But these fantasies won't bring him back." "How do you know my dog's name?" "Go home," he said, straightening up. "Take a sleeping pill. When you wake up, this will all seem like a bad dream. And if you're smart, you'll leave it that way." He walked back to the vans without waiting for my response. I drove away, but not home. I went to the library. Pine Grove Library stays open until midnight. I spent 3 hours researching everything I could about our subdivision. Construction records, previous owners, news articles. But what I found went deeper than just the hospital. The land had a history. Before Fairweather, it had been the site of the Millbrook Children's Home in the 1920s. Closed after a fire killed 7 orphans. Before that, the Grayson family farm, abandoned after all their livestock died mysteriously in 1891. Every few decades, something happened here. Something that made people leave. But it was Dr. Eugene Voss's research that connected it all. I found his published papers in the library's academic database. Early stuff before Fairweather. Theories about thin places. Locations where reality was more permeable. He believed certain geological conditions created natural weak points between dimensions. Places where things could slip through. "Consider the wall," one paper read, "not as a barrier, but as a membrane. What we perceive as solid is merely dense. With the right frequency, the right biological adaptation, one could theoretically pass through spaces we consider impermeable." His later work got stranger. Talk of consciousness as a frequency and biological phase shifting. The medical board had raised concerns, but Fairweather's board of directors had protected him, right up until the night of the uprising. I found the autopsy report for one of the patients who died that night. Cause of death was listed as severe internal trauma consistent with explosive decompression. But the medical examiner's handwritten notes, scanned and barely legible, told a different story. Subject appears to have been turned inside out. Organs show signs of dimensional displacement. Recommend immediate cremation. Do not allow other staff to view remains. At 11:58, just before the library closed, I made a decision. I photocopied everything, stuffed the pages into my bag, and headed home. Not to hide, not to cover my walls in aluminum foil and pretend this wasn't happening. I went home to find out what had really taken Cooper. The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. Mark had installed smart lights that should have turned on automatically, but the system wasn't responding. Even the street lights seemed dimmer than usual, as if something was absorbing the light. Inside, the smell hit me immediately, stronger than before. Wet pennies mixed with that organic wrongness, but underneath it, Pine Sol, the same cleaner my mom used when I was a kid. The scent memory was so strong it made me dizzy with nostalgia. Sarah. I froze. That wasn't Cooper's voice, it was my mother's. She'd been dead for 5 years. Sarah, honey, I'm in the kitchen. Come here. I made your favorite. My feet moved without my permission. 1 step, 2. The rational part of my brain screamed warnings. But the smell of her perfume, Chanel No. 5, mixed with the lingering scent of her cigarettes. The kitchen was wrong. It looked like my kitchen, but also like my childhood kitchen from the house in Michigan. 2 realities overlapped imperfectly, creating a nauseating double vision. At the stove stood a figure that might have been my mother if my mother had been stretched vertically and had too many joints in her arms. There you are, it said, with her voice but wrong intonation. I've been waiting so long. We all have. The thing that wore my mother's face turned, and I saw that the features only extended to the front. The back of its head was smooth, white, pulsing like exposed brain tissue. You're not her, I managed to whisper. Of course I am. It smiled with too many teeth. I'm everyone who's ever loved you, everyone you've ever lost. We're all here, Sarah. All waiting in the spaces between. Your mother, your dog, your grandmother. That boy from high school who died in the car accident. What was his name? Kevin? My blood ran cold. I'd never told anyone about Kevin. Never spoke about the crush I'd had, the guilt I'd felt when he died before I could tell him. We know everything, the mother thing continued, stirring something in a pot that bubbled with bioluminescent liquid. Every secret, every regret, every loss that still aches in the middle of the night. We can take that pain away, make you whole again. Behind it, the wall began to bulge, ripple, like something massive was pushing through from the other side. The drywall split, and through the gap I saw... I can't describe it properly. Imagine if love had a physical form, but that form was designed by something that had only heard descriptions of love but never felt it. Massive, organic, covered in openings that might have been mouths or eyes or wounds. And from each opening came a sound. Whispers, barks, meows, laughter, crying. The voice of every missing thing in Pine Grove. Join us, my mother's voice said. But now it came from the thing in the wall too, a harmony of stolen voices. Stop hurting. Stop missing us. We're right here. We've always been right here, just 1 step sideways from your reality. I should have left Pine Grove that night, packed up and driven to Mark in Seattle. Instead, I went home, because in one of those newspaper photos, grainy and faded, I'd seen something that changed everything. A patient standing in the background. A young woman with distinctive heterochromia, 1 blue eye, 1 brown. Just like Cooper had. Just like the rescue had said was so unusual when we adopted him. Never seen it in a golden retriever before, they'd said. Makes him special. The woman in the photo was identified as patient 47, real name redacted. But someone had written in pencil at the bottom of the clipping. Claims her consciousness was split during treatments. Says part of her is still in there, waiting. I know how this sounds, insane, impossible, but I'd heard Cooper in those walls, I was sure of it. What if the treatments, whatever Dr. Voss had done, what if it hadn't ended when they demolished the hospital? What if something was still down there, in spaces between spaces, collecting? It's 3:47 a.m. again as I write this. The scratching has returned, but now it's not just in my walls. I can hear it from every house on the street. A symphony of clawing, digging, searching. My phone is blowing up with messages from the neighborhood group, but I'm not checking them anymore. I know what they say, because I've made my decision. The hole I made 4 nights ago has grown. Not physically, it's still covered by duct tape and that poster, but I can feel it pulling at me, calling. And that voice that sounds like Cooper but isn't, it's been whispering all evening. We're all here, Sarah, all of us, waiting. The nice doctor said we could be together forever. No more walls, no more separation, just one big family in the spaces between. Cooper wants his mommy. Don't you want to see him? The thing is, I do. God help me, I do. The rational part of my brain knows this is wrong. Knows that whatever is down there isn't really Cooper, isn't really any of the pets or people it's collected. But grief makes us stupid. Love makes us stupider. I've left this account open on my laptop. Mark will find it when he gets home Friday. Baby, if you're reading this, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But I heard them. I heard our boy, and I couldn't just leave him there. The tape is peeling away from the wall now. Not from age or humidity, it's being pushed from inside, and that smell is back, stronger than ever. Wet pennies and Cooper's shampoo and something else, something that smells like childhood, like my grandmother's house, like every good memory I've ever had all mixed together. It's opening now, wide enough to see through, and oh, I can see them, all of them. They're beautiful and terrible and wrong and perfect and... Cooper's here. He's right here. He looks different, improved, like someone took the idea of him and made it more. His fur ripples with colors that shouldn't exist. His eyes, both of them, are kaleidoscopes of every pet who's ever been loved and lost. And when he barks, it sounds like coming home. Come on, Mommy, he says. And yes, he's talking now. They all are. A chorus of beloved voices all saying the same thing. There's room for everyone here. No more loneliness, no more loss, just love. Forever. The opening is big enough now, big enough to crawl through. And behind Cooper, in the shifting, impossible space beyond my bedroom wall, I can see Mrs. Henderson. She's smiling. They're all smiling. Wait, do you hear that? That scratching? Check your walls. Check them carefully, especially if you've lost someone recently, especially if you love them more than reason. They're spreading, you see. Not just in Pine Grove, wherever there's grief. Wherever there's love so strong it defies logic. The spaces between are opening. Mark, baby, don't come home. Don't come looking for me. But know that I love you. Know that Cooper loved you too. And if you hear scratching in the walls of that hotel room, if you smell wet pennies and memory, don't listen, don't look, don't... Oh, he's beautiful. My beautiful boy. His tail is wagging in 17 dimensions and his tongue is made of stars and I'm going now, into the space between, where love lives forever and walls are just suggestions and everyone you've ever lost is waiting with open arms and too many teeth. The hole is closing behind me. This laptop will be all that's left. That and questions. So many questions. But here's the thing about questions. Sometimes the answer is scarier than the mystery. Sometimes the answer has been living in your walls all along, waiting for grief to make you brave enough to follow it home. Sometimes the answer is that love doesn't die. It just learns to hide in new places. Cooper's pulling me deeper now. The others are singing. It's the most beautiful sound I've ever heard. Like every lullaby in the world played backwards on broken instruments. If you've read this far, if you've stayed with me through this whole impossible story, check your walls tonight. Check them carefully. And if you hear scratching, if you smell wet pennies and lost love, maybe I'll see you soon. Maybe we all will. After all, there's room for everyone here in the spaces between. Everyone. Account last active 3:51 a.m. Location services disabled. Device found abandoned at 1247 Pine Grove Lane. Status of user unknown. The scratching in your walls. Do you hear it now? Leave a comment if you do. Share this with someone who's lost a pet recently. Subscribe if you want to know what happened to Mark when he came home. But most importantly, Check your walls tonight. Check them very carefully. Sweet dreams. Story number 3. The first time I noticed it. The microwave timer was at 17 minutes and 43 seconds. Counting up. Not down, up. I stood there in my kitchen, coffee mug forgotten in my hand, watching those red digital numbers climb higher. 18 minutes, 19, 20. The leftover lasagna inside had long since stopped rotating, but the timer kept going. Here's the thing about broken appliances. They're supposed to break in predictable ways. They stop working, they make weird noises, they blow a fuse. They don't do this. But before I tell you what happened next, before I explain why I haven't slept properly in 3 weeks, I need you to understand something. What would you do, right now? If your microwave started counting up, would you unplug it? Would you laugh it off as a glitch? Would you hit the stop button and forget about it? Because I need to know. I need to know if anyone else would have made the same mistake I did. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you would have done. Because maybe, just maybe, one of you knows how to make it stop. Now, let me tell you the story from the beginning. My name is Sarah Chen, and I moved to Pine Creek, Colorado. 6 months ago for a fresh start. You know how it goes. Bad breakup. Dead-end job. The whole cliché package. I found this little rental house on Maple Street through Craigslist. One of those post-war bungalows with original hardwood floors and windows that didn't quite close right. The kitchen hadn't been updated since the 80s, complete with almond-colored appliances and peeling linoleum. But the rent was cheap, and I needed cheap. The microwave came with the place. One of those old Kenmore units, probably from 1987, based on that distinctly yellowed beige plastic that all appliances seemed to have back then. It worked fine for the first few months. Sure, it made a grinding noise when the turntable rotated, and you had to slam the door twice to get it to latch. But it heated my TV dinners and leftover Chinese takeout just fine. I first noticed something was off on a Tuesday night in October. I'd just gotten home from my shift at the Barnes & Noble downtown, exhausted and starving. I grabbed last night's pad thai from the fridge, dumped it on a plate, and popped it in the microwave. 2 minutes, like always. I went to check my phone while it heated, scrolled through Instagram. Answered a text from my mom asking if I was eating enough vegetables. Typical Tuesday night stuff, when I looked back at the microwave. The timer read 3:17. 3 minutes, 17 seconds. I frowned. Had I accidentally hit 3 minutes instead of 2? I walked over and watched the numbers. 3:18, 3:19, 3:20. The inside of the microwave was dark. The turntable wasn't moving. My food was just sitting there, cold. But the timer kept climbing. I hit the stop button. Nothing. Hit it again, harder, still nothing. The numbers kept rising. 3:34. 3:35. I yanked open the door, and the timer finally stopped. The display went dark for a second, then flickered back to the normal clock display. 9:47 p.m. I stood there for a minute, plate of cold pad thai in my hand, staring at that stupid beige box. Electronics glitch out sometimes, right? Especially old electronics. I'd had a DVD player once that would randomly skip to the end of movies. This was probably the same thing. Just old circuits doing weird stuff. I shut the door, hit 2 minutes again, this time. It worked normally. The food spun around, the timer counted down. And 2 minutes later I was eating reheated noodles on my couch while watching The Office for the 100th time. I should have unplugged it that night, should have called my landlord, Gerald, and demanded a new microwave. Should have done a lot of things, but I didn't. Because it was just a glitch, right? The second time it happened was 3 days later, Friday morning. I was warming up one of those Jimmy Dean breakfast sandwiches before work. Set it for 90 seconds. Went to brush my teeth. Came back to find the timer at 4:23 and climbing. This time, I noticed something else. The microwave was making a sound. Not the usual hum of operation, but something lower, deeper, like a bass note played on an organ. So low you felt it more than heard it. The kind of sound that makes your teeth ache. I unplugged it, the display died. But I could still feel that vibration in the air for a few seconds after, like the echo of a bell that stopped ringing. When I plugged it back in, everything seemed normal again. I used the toaster oven for my sandwich instead, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. You know that feeling when you're alone in a house, but it doesn't feel empty, like someone just left the room before you entered? That's how my kitchen felt that morning. I mentioned it to my coworker, Janet, at lunch that day. She laughed, said her coffee maker had started making ice cubes last month. Old appliances do weird stuff, she said, picking at her Caesar salad. My ex-husband had this toaster that would only toast one side of the bread, but only on Wednesdays. We laughed about it. I felt better. Just a weird old microwave doing weird old microwave things. But that night, when I got home, I found something that made my blood run cold. I walked into my kitchen, flipped on the light, and froze. The microwave display wasn't showing the time, it was showing numbers. 47, 33, 19, 47 hours, 33 minutes, 19 seconds. And climbing. I hadn't touched it since that morning. It had been unplugged when I left, I was sure of it, absolutely certain. But there it was, counting up like some kind of demented stopwatch. I stood there in my doorway, keys still in my hand, watching those numbers climb. 47, 33, 21, 47, 33, 22. That low vibration was back. Stronger now. I could feel it in my chest, in my bones. Then I noticed something else. The reflection in the microwave door. It showed my kitchen, but wrong. The table was in a different spot. The wallpaper was different, floral instead of the plain beige paint, and standing at the counter, barely visible in the warped reflection of that dark glass. I spun around. Nobody there. Just my regular kitchen with its regular beige walls and regular wooden table in its regular spot. I looked back at the microwave door. Just my own face staring back, pale and wide-eyed. I reached for the plug, yanked it out of the wall hard enough to leave a mark on the outlet. The numbers vanished. The vibration stopped. I stood there breathing hard, like I'd just run a mile, that weekend. I did what any reasonable person would do. I Googled it. Microwave timer counting up. Kenmore microwave glitch. Old microwave acting weird. Nothing useful. Just forums full of people complaining about their microwaves not heating evenly or making strange noises. I even posted on Reddit, or appliances, describing what was happening. Most people said it was probably a faulty control board. One guy suggested it might be picking up interference from a nearby radio tower. Nobody seemed particularly concerned, but there was one comment, from a deleted account. That made me pause. It just said, "What number is it at now?" I didn't reply. Sunday night, I decided to be scientific about it. I set up my phone to record the microwave, started a 1-minute timer, and went to the living room. I'd catch whatever was happening on video, have proof that I wasn't going crazy. When the minute was up, I came back to find my phone dead, completely bricked, wouldn't turn on, wouldn't charge, nothing. The microwave timer read 15:42 and was still climbing. But here's the thing that really got me. The thing that made me realize this wasn't just some electrical malfunction. Inside the microwave, on the glass turntable, someone had left a note, a yellow sticky note, like the kind I keep by my phone for grocery lists. In handwriting that wasn't mine. It said, "Stop unplugging me. We need to talk." I didn't sleep that night. How could I? I sat on my couch, baseball bat across my lap, watching the kitchen doorway like it might suddenly fill with, I don't know what. Ghosts, intruders, microwave repair technicians with a really twisted sense of humor. When the sun finally came up, I felt brave enough to go back in the kitchen. The microwave was dark, normal, showing 6:23 a.m. on its clock display. The sticky note was gone, not crumpled up in the trash or fallen behind the counter. Gone, like it had never existed. I called in sick to work, told Janet I had food poisoning, which wasn't entirely a lie. I felt sick to my stomach every time I looked at that beige box sitting on my counter. That's when I decided to call Gerald, my landlord. He picked up on the third ring, sounding like I'd woken him up. "Yeah?" His voice was gravelly, annoyed. "Gerald, it's Sarah Chen from Maple Street. I'm having an issue with the microwave." "What kind of issue? How do you explain this to someone?" "It's malfunctioning. The timer keeps counting up instead of down." He sighed. I could practically hear him rolling his eyes. "Did you try unplugging it?" "Yes." "Did you check if something's stuck in the door?" "It's not that kind of problem. Gerald, I think I need a new microwave." There was a long pause. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Careful. "The Kenmore unit? Beige one?" "Yeah." Another pause. "That microwave has been in that house for 35 years, never had a problem with it." "Well, it's having problems now." "Listen," he said slowly. "I can come by Thursday to take a look, but Sarah, don't use it until then. Okay? Just leave it alone." Something in his tone made the hair on my arms stand up. "Gerald, what aren't you telling me?" "Nothing, just old appliances can be dangerous, electrical fires and such. Thursday. I'll come by Thursday." He hung up before I could ask anything else. I spent the rest of Monday researching the house. Property records, old newspaper archives, anything I could find online. The house was built in 1952. Nothing special there, but in 1987, there was a small item in the Pine Creek Gazette that caught my eye. "Local woman missing. Foul play not suspected, Margaret Bauer, 34, of 427 Maple Street, was reported missing Tuesday evening after failing to show up for her shift at Pine Creek Elementary, where she worked as a lunch aide. Neighbors report seeing lights on in the home Monday night, but no one has seen Mrs. Bauer since Sunday afternoon. Her car was found in the driveway, purse and keys still inside the home. Police say there are no signs of struggle or forced entry. Anyone with information should contact 427 Maple Street, my house." I kept digging. Found a follow-up article from 2 weeks later. Margaret was never found. Her husband, Tom, moved out shortly after. The house sat empty for 3 years before being turned into a rental. 1987. The same year Gerald said the microwave had been installed. Tuesday morning. I woke up to find every clock in my house showing a different time. The stove clock said 3:17. My alarm clock said 11:45. My phone said 6:32. And the microwave? The microwave wasn't showing time at all. It was showing that same running counter. 186, 42, 33. 186 hours. That was, what, 7.5 days? I grabbed my phone to calculate it properly, but the calculator app kept crashing. Everything on my phone was glitching. Apps opening and closing randomly. Texts sending themselves. Photos I'd never taken appearing in my gallery. The photos were of my kitchen. Dozens of them. All taken from the same angle. From inside the microwave, looking out. In each one, I could see myself, sometimes cooking, sometimes making coffee, sometimes just walking past. But in the last few photos, I wasn't alone. There was someone else in my kitchen. A woman in a floral house dress, standing right behind me, getting closer in each photo. I threw my phone across the room and hit the wall and shattered. Good. I didn't want to see anymore. That low humming was back, stronger than ever. I could feel it in my teeth, in my bones. The whole house seemed to vibrate with it, and underneath that sound, barely audible, I could hear something else, voices, muffled, distorted, like a radio tuned between stations. I followed the sound to the kitchen, pressed my ear against the microwave door. Been so long, almost ready, just a little more time." I jerked back. The voices stopped, but the counter was still climbing. 186, 45, 17. I grabbed my keys and left. Spent the day at the library, using their computers to research, trying to find anything about Margaret Bauer, microwave accidents, electromagnetic fields, anything that might explain what was happening. I found one thing, a forum post from 2011 on some paranormal website. Someone claiming their microwave in Pine Creek was acting as a portal. The post was full of typos and rambling theories about dimensional rifts and electromagnetic bridges, the kind of thing you'd normally laugh at. But at the bottom, they'd posted a photo, a blurry, low-quality image of a microwave display showing a timer counting up, and reflected in the dark glass of the door, barely visible, was a woman in a floral dress. I didn't go home that night, couldn't. I got a room at the Motel 6 off Highway 287, paid cash, and tried to pretend everything was normal. But normal had left the building the moment I'd seen those photos on my phone. Wednesday morning. I sat in the motel's breakfast area, picking at a stale bagel and watching the local news. They were talking about power outages across Pine Creek. Unusual electromagnetic activity, the weatherman said, looking confused by his own teleprompter. Residents are advised to unplug sensitive electronics. My phone buzzed, which was impossible because I'd smashed it against my living room wall. But there it was, screen cracked but somehow functional. Lighting up with a text from an unknown number. "You need to come home. She's getting impatient." Then another. "Every hour you stay away, she gets stronger." And another. "Do you know what happens at 200 hours? I looked at the time on the motel's lobby clock. If my math was right, the microwave would hit 200 hours sometime tonight. I drove past my house 3 times before finally pulling into the driveway. Every instinct told me to keep driving, to pack up what I could and leave Pine Creek forever. But something else, something deeper, pulled me back. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the sick feeling that wherever I went, this would follow. Or maybe it was the simple, horrible realization that this was my problem now, and running wouldn't solve it. The house looked normal from the outside, peaceful, even. The afternoon sun made the windows glow golden. The neighbor's cat was sleeping on my porch steps. Everything exactly as it should be. Inside was a different story. Every electronic device was on. TV blaring static, radio cycling through stations, lamps flickering in patterns that hurt to look at. And in the kitchen, the microwave's display cast a red glow across the room. 197, 2344. Less than 3 hours to 200. On the counter next to the microwave was a stack of papers I hadn't left there. Old documents, yellowed with age. I picked them up with shaking hands. Missing person report for Margaret Bauer. A receipt for a Kenmore microwave. Dated October 15th, 1987. 3 days before Margaret disappeared. And underneath, a set of installation instructions that made my blood run cold. They weren't normal instructions. The diagram showed impossible configurations, components that didn't exist. And at the bottom, in handwriting that matched the sticky note, someone had written, "For emergency temporal displacement only. Do not exceed 200 hours on initial activation." The humming was so loud now I could barely think. The whole house was shaking. Picture frames rattling on walls, dishes clinking in cabinets. And that voice, clearer now, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. I didn't mean to stay so long. The timer was supposed to count down, but it counted up instead, up and up and up. And by the time I realized what had happened, I was already too far away to come back. I turned to the microwave. In its dark window, I could see her clearly now. Margaret Bauer, standing in a kitchen that was mine but wasn't. Same layout, different time. She looked exactly like her missing person photo, except for her eyes. Her eyes were ancient, exhausted, desperate. Every second forward for you was a second backward for me. Her voice came from the microwave speakers. Distorted, but understandable. 35 years, Sarah. I've been traveling backward for 35 years, and now, finally, the timer is almost ready to flip. Flip? My voice came out as a whisper. At 200 hours, it resets, counts down instead of up, and when it reaches 0, she pressed her palm against the glass from her side. We trade places. The counter read 199, 45, 33, 15 minutes. No, I backed away. No, I'm not. I won't. You don't have a choice. Her voice was sad but firm. Someone has to be on this side. That's how it works. The microwave doesn't create the portal. Sarah, it is the portal, and portals need balance. One in, one out. I ran for the door. It wouldn't budge. The windows were sealed. My phone was calling numbers on its own, leaving voicemails in my voice saying I was going away, saying not to look for me. 199, 58, 47. I'm sorry, Margaret said. I'm so sorry. But I have a daughter. She was only 4 when I left. She'd be 39 now. I missed everything. Her first day of school, her graduation, her wedding. I watched it all backwards through this glass, getting younger while she got older. And I can't do it anymore. 199, 59, 32. The humming reached a crescendo. The lights in the kitchen exploded, one by one, leaving only the red glow of the microwave. In that light, I could see the truth. The kitchen wasn't shaking. Reality was. The walls were becoming transparent, showing decades of moments layered on top of each other. Families cooking dinner, children doing homework, couples fighting and making up. All of it happening at once. All of it centered on that beige box on the counter. 199, 59, 58. When you get there, Margaret said, tears streaming down her face. Look for the note, the real instructions. Maybe you'll be smarter than me. Maybe you'll figure out how to break the cycle instead of just passing it on. 200, 0 o'clock. The world flipped. Have you ever fallen in a dream? That moment where your stomach drops and you jerk awake. Heart pounding, that's what it felt like. Except, I didn't wake up. I fell through the floor, through time, through the spaces between seconds. And then I was standing in my kitchen, but the walls were covered in floral wallpaper. The floor was different linoleum, older, cleaner, and the microwave display read 199, 59, 59, counting down. I was on the wrong side of the glass. I pounded on the door, screamed until my throat was raw. But on the other side, in my time, I could see Margaret. She stood there for a moment, looking older than her years, but free. Finally, free. She touched the glass once, mouthed, "I'm sorry" again, and then walked out of view. The timer kept counting down. 199, 59, 45, 199, 59, 44, the first few hours. I tried everything. Pulled at wires, kicked the door, searched for an emergency release. Nothing worked. The microwave wasn't just a microwave here, it was something else. Something fundamental. A fixed point that couldn't be moved or broken as the timer ticked down. I started to understand how Margaret had survived. Time moved differently here. I didn't get hungry or tired. Didn't need to breathe. I existed in a bubble outside normal physics, watching the world through that small window, but watching it backward. I saw myself moving in reverse through my morning routine, unmaking coffee, untoasting bread, walking backward out the door. And before that, I saw the previous tenants, a young couple who'd lived there for 3 years. Watched their relationship dissolve in reverse, from cold silence to heated arguments to passionate love. The numbers kept falling. 150, 0 o'clock, 100, 0 o'clock, 50, 0 o'clock. Days passed or unpassed. I learned to read lips backward, to understand the reversed speech. Started leaving notes, just like Margaret had. Little sticky notes that would appear at just the right moment. Warning myself, trying to change things. But the past, I learned, doesn't like to be changed. Every note I left disappeared before it could make a difference. Every attempt to communicate failed. I was a ghost haunting my own life, unable to change anything. Only observe 30, 0 o'clock, 20 hours, 0 minutes and 0 seconds, 10 hours, 0 minutes and 0 seconds. That's when I found Margaret's real note. Not a sticky note, but carved into the inside of the microwave with something sharp. Maybe a key, maybe desperation. It was hard to read in the dim light, but I had nothing but time. The portal opens both ways at 0, but only for 1 heartbeat. Miss it, and you wait another cycle. 200 hours forward, 200 hours back, forever and ever, unless the rest was scratched out, deliberately destroyed. 5 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds. I watched a previous tenant, an elderly man, make soup every day at the same time. Watched him get younger, stronger. Watched his wife fade back into existence. Cancer reversing its course. Their reunion was beautiful, even in reverse. 1 hour, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds. Almost time. I pressed against the door. Ready. I wouldn't miss my chance, wouldn't spend 35 years like Margaret. I'd be ready. 0 hours, 30 minutes, and 0 seconds. That's when I saw him. Gerald. My landlord, but younger, hair still brown instead of gray. Installing the microwave with hands that shook, and beside him, helping, was Margaret. 0 hours, 15 minutes, and 0 seconds. They were talking. I couldn't hear, but I could read their lips. "Are you sure this will work?" Margaret asked. "The manual says it will. Temporal displacement field. We can save her, bring her back. But what if? It'll work. It has to work. 0 hours, 5 minutes, and 0 seconds. Save who? Bring who back?" I watched them fiddle with wires. Connect things that shouldn't be connected. The microwave sparked, hummed. Came alive in ways no appliance should. 0 hours, 1 minute, and 0 seconds. Margaret was crying. I can hear her. Tom. I can hear Lucy. She's calling for Mommy. Lucy. Her daughter. But her daughter was alive. 39 years old, living in Denver according to the articles I'd found. Unless 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 30 seconds. Unless this wasn't about escaping at all. Unless Margaret hadn't been trapped. She'd been searching, moving backward through time, looking for something, someone, a moment. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 10 seconds. The truth hit me like a physical blow. Margaret's daughter. The one who was 4 when she disappeared. That wasn't true. I'd found the records, looked up everything. Lucy Bauer had died at age 4, 3 days before Margaret bought the microwave. Drowned in the bathtub while Margaret was making dinner. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 5 seconds. She wasn't trying to escape. She was trying to go back far enough to save her. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 3 seconds. And now I was taking her place. But I didn't have anyone to save, no reason to keep going back. Which meant 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 1 second. The door could open both ways, but only if you wanted to leave. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds. The world exploded into light and sound and motion for one impossible moment. I existed in both places at once, in the past with floral wallpaper and in the present with beige walls. The portal yawned wide, showing not just 2 times but all times. Every moment that kitchen had ever seen. layered like transparent photographs. And in that moment, I understood. The microwave wasn't broken, wasn't cursed. It was working exactly as designed, a grief-powered time machine, feeding on loss and regret, and the desperate hope that if you could just go back far enough, you could fix everything. But I didn't have that grief, that loss. I had nothing keeping me there, so I let go. I'm back now, sitting in my kitchen at 3 a.m., typing this on my laptop. The microwave is gone. Gerald came by, as promised, on Thursday. Took one look at it and nodded like he'd expected this. She found her, was all he said. After all this time, she finally went back far enough. He loaded it into his truck without another word. Left me with a new microwave. A modern one with digital controls and a warranty and absolutely no ability to manipulate the flow of time. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear that humming, still feel that vibration in my bones, and I wonder how many other appliances are out there. How many washing machines and dishwashers and refrigerators have been modified by desperate people trying to change the past? How many people are traveling backward right now, watching the world rewind, searching for that one moment they can fix, and what happens when they find it? I need to know I'm not alone in this. If you've experienced something similar, if your appliances have started acting strange, if you've seen things that shouldn't be possible, please leave a comment. Share this story, because I have this terrible feeling that Margaret's microwave wasn't unique, that there's a whole network of them out there, hidden in rental houses and grandmothers' kitchens and college dorms, counting up instead of down, waiting for someone desperate enough to trade places. And if that's true, if there really are more of them, then we need to find them before someone else gets trapped, before the timers hit 200, before the next trade. The humming is getting louder. I can hear it through the walls now. Not from my kitchen, from somewhere else, somewhere close. Maybe next door, maybe yours. Check your microwave right now. Check which way the numbers are moving, and whatever you do, if they're counting up, don't unplug it. It doesn't like being interrupted. Trust me, I know. Story number 4. The coffee mug shattered against the break room floor at exactly 3:47 p.m. last Tuesday. And that's when I first noticed Marcus wasn't in the security footage anymore. Not missing, not hidden, just faded. Like someone had taken an eraser to reality itself. But wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Before you think I'm crazy, before you click away, let me ask you something. Have you ever watched old home videos and noticed someone in the background you don't remember? Someone your brain insists shouldn't be there? Now, imagine the opposite. Imagine someone you see every single day, slowly disappearing from every recording, while they're still standing right next to you. Still think I'm crazy? Good, maybe you'll survive longer than Marcus did. Hit that subscribe button if you want to hear more stories that'll make you question every security camera you walk past. And drop a comment below if you've ever noticed someone, or something, the cameras just won't capture. Trust me, you're not alone. The story begins now. My name is Sarah Chen, and I've worked security at Midwest Distribution Center in Columbus, Ohio for 3 years. It's not glamorous. Watching screens all night, making sure nobody steals pallets of toilet paper or energy drinks. But it pays decent, and usually the scariest thing I see is a raccoon getting into the dumpsters. Marcus Holloway started 2 months ago on the night shift. Friendly guy. Always brought extra donuts from Tim Hortons. The kind with maple glaze that made the whole security office smell like Saturday mornings. He'd sit at the desk next to mine, humming old Motown songs while cycling through camera feeds. That Tuesday started normal. Marcus walked in at 11 p.m. sharp, same as always, carrying his lunch bag and that ancient thermos his daughter painted with butterflies. I remember because he set it on my desk while hanging up his jacket. "Cold out there," he said, rubbing his hands together. "Supposed to drop below freezing tonight." I nodded, barely looking up from the monitors. 27 cameras to watch, plus the new ones they'd installed last week in the loading dock. The company had spent a fortune upgrading to 4K resolution. "See every detail," the tech guy had bragged. "These babies don't miss anything." Funny how wrong he was. Around 2 a.m., I started my usual rounds, checking the physical locations while Marcus watched the screens. Standard procedure. Takes about 45 minutes to walk the whole warehouse. I remember passing under camera 12, the one that covers the southeast corner, and waving at it. Marcus always waved back through the monitor, our little routine. But when I returned to the office, Marcus was staring at the screens with this look, like someone had just told him his dog died. "Sarah?" His voice came out weird, hollow. Can you look at something?" He rewound the footage from camera 12. There I was, walking through the frame, waving at the camera. But the timestamp showed 2:17 a.m., exactly when I'd passed through. "Yeah, so, what am I looking at?" Watch my response. The screen showed the security office. There was my empty chair. There was Marcus's chair, also empty. My skin prickled. That's impossible. You were right there. You waved back. I saw you." "I know." His fingers trembled as he switched to another camera. The break room, time-stamped 11:47 p.m. I saw myself getting coffee. The chair where Marcus had been sitting, eating his sandwich and joking about his wife's experimental tuna casserole, was empty. We went through every camera, every angle, every timestamp. In each one, Marcus simply wasn't there. Not blurred, not obscured, just absent. Like he'd been edited out by someone with too much time and a pirated copy of Photoshop. "Maybe it's a glitch," I said, but my voice sounded thin. The new system could be buggy. Marcus pulled up his employee ID photo on the computer. His face stared back at us. Normal as ever. Dark skin, graying beard, that crooked smile from where he'd chipped a tooth playing baseball in high school. Then he minimized it and pulled up the parking lot camera from 11 p.m. His car was there. I could see it clearly. That beat-up Honda Civic with the "My Daughter is an Honors Student" bumper sticker. The driver's door opened, the door closed. The car locked with a flash of taillights. But nobody got out. Nobody walked across the lot. Nobody badged in at the entrance. "Marcus," I whispered, "I can see you. You're right here. That's when the coffee mug fell. He'd bumped it, reaching for his thermos, and it shattered on the floor. We both jumped. Sorry. He knelt to pick up the pieces. "I'll get the broom." "No, wait." I grabbed his arm. Solid, real, warm through his uniform shirt. "Let me check something." I rewound the office camera to 30 seconds ago. There was the mug on the desk. There it was falling, shattering. The pieces scattered across the floor, but no hand knocked it over. It just fell, like gravity had suddenly remembered it existed. Marcus stood slowly. In the monitor's reflection, I could see myself gripping empty air where his arm should be. "Sarah." His voice dropped to barely a whisper. What's happening to me? I should have called someone, should have reported it. But what would I say? "Hey, boss, my coworker is invisible to cameras, but I can see him fine." And they'd have me pissing in a cup and looking for a new job before sunrise. So we did what any reasonable people would do. We pretended everything was normal. Marcus continued his rounds. I watched the screens. But now, I couldn't stop noticing the wrongness of it all. When he walked past cameras, shadows would flicker. Not his shadow. The shadows of objects near him. Like the darkness couldn't decide if he was there or not. When he opened doors on camera, they swung inward by themselves. When he signed the logbook, the pen moved across the page in empty air. By 4 a.m., we'd developed a system. He'd radio me before entering any camera zone. Approaching camera 7. Entering North Corridor. That way, I could track him even if the screen showed empty hallways. Maybe it's just the new cameras, Marcus said during our lunch break. We sat in the break room, me watching him in person while the monitor showed me eating alone. The old ones might still work, but we'd already checked. Every camera in the building had the same problem. Even his phone. When he tried to take a selfie, the screen showed only the wall behind him. "I need to go home," he said suddenly. "Need to see my family, make sure I'm not—" He didn't finish. "Your shift ends at 7, just 3 more hours." "No." He stood up, chair scraping against the floor. On the monitor, the chair moved by itself. "I need to go now. I need—" The lights flickered. Not unusual. The building was old, the wiring sketchy. But this time, in that split second of darkness, I couldn't see Marcus. Not even in person, just gone. Then the light steadied, and he was back, gripping the edge of the table so hard his knuckles went pale. "Did you see that?" His eyes were wide. "Did I—" "It was just the lights." "No." He shook his head. "No, I felt it. Like I was falling. Like I was—" He grabbed his thermos, his jacket. "I'm going home." I should have stopped him. Should have insisted he stay where I could see him. But I was scared too. Scared of what might happen if he stayed. Scared of what I might see, or stop seeing. "Call me when you get home," I said. "Let me know you're okay." He paused at the door. "Sarah, what if my family can't see me either?" "They will. This is it's just cameras. Some weird technical thing." But we both knew I was lying. I watched him leave on the monitors. The exit door opened and closed. His car doors did the same. The headlights turned on, and the Civic pulled out of the lot, driving itself into the pre-dawn darkness. He never called. The rest of my shift passed in a blur. I couldn't focus on the screens. Kept expecting to see Marcus walk back in, laugh about the whole thing. Got you good, didn't I? Me and the tech guys set the whole thing up. But 7 a.m. came. Day shift arrived. I drove home through morning traffic, hands shaking on the wheel. I called Marcus 6 times, straight to voicemail every time. That evening, I found out why. The call came at 9 p.m., just as I was getting ready for another shift. Unknown number. "Is this Sarah Chen?" A woman's voice, shaky and raw. "Yes?" "This is Denise Holloway, Marcus's wife. I got your number from his phone. You're the last person he texted." My stomach dropped. "Is he okay? Is Marcus—" "That's why I'm calling." Her voice cracked. "The police think I'm crazy, but you work with him. You saw him last night. Please. Please tell me you saw him." "Of course I saw him. We worked the whole shift together. Why would—" "The police say he never came home. His car." She took a shuddering breath. "They found his car parked outside our house. Keys in the ignition. Engine still running. The driver door was open, but what? The doorbell camera, the security system, the neighbor's Ring camera across the street. They all show the car pulling up. They show the door opening. But Marcus, nobody got out. Nobody walked to the house. He just wasn't there." I sank onto my couch. "Mrs. Holloway, Denise, I need to tell you something. Last night at work." I told her everything. The missing footage, the falling mug, the flickering lights. She listened without interrupting, and when I finished, the silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. "It's happening to his photos too," she finally whispered. "I was looking through our album, trying to show the police recent pictures, but he's fading, like someone's erasing him with each page I turn." "What do you mean, fading?" "Our wedding photo. I can barely see his outline. Last Christmas. He's just a shadow next to the tree, and the recent ones." Her voice broke completely. "He's gone, 23 years of marriage, and he's disappearing from all of it." I grabbed my laptop, pulled up the employee directory. Marcus's profile was still there, but the photo was blank. Just a gray placeholder where his face should be. "I'm coming over," I said. "Give me your address." "No." Her response was sharp. "No, the police are here. They're treating it like a missing person case, but I can see it in their eyes. They think I did something. They think—" She paused. "There's something else. In his text to you, the last one." I scrolled through my phone. There it was, sent at 3:51 a.m. "Sarah, if something happens, tell Denise about the basement. She'll understand." What basement? What did he mean? I don't know. But her tone suggested otherwise. "I have to go. The detective wants to ask more questions. But Sarah, be careful. Whatever's happening, I don't think it's over." She hung up. I stared at the text, reading it over and over. The basement. What basement? The warehouse had a basement, but it had been sealed off years ago. Something about structural damage. Nobody went down there. I called in sick to work. First time in 2 years. Then I drove to the warehouse, parking in the visitor lot. The day shift wouldn't question me being there. Security staff came and went at all hours. The basement access was in the old part of the building, behind a door marked "Authorized Personnel Only." The lock had been cut recently. Fresh metal shavings on the floor. I pushed it open, clicked on my flashlight. The stairs descended into darkness. The walls were concrete, sweating with moisture. My footsteps echoed wrong, like the space was bigger than it should be. At the bottom, I found another door. This one was new, electronic lock, keycard reader. But the door was already open. Inside, I don't know what I expected. Conspiracy theory stuff, maybe, secret experiments, government cover-ups. Instead, I found an office. Clean, modern, completely out of place. Banks of monitors lined one wall, showing feeds I didn't recognize. A desk with 3 computers, file cabinets, and photographs. Hundreds of them, pinned to boards like a detective's case files. But these weren't crime scenes. They were employee photos. All from our warehouse. All showing the same thing. Empty spaces where people should be. I recognized some faces. Or rather, the absence of them. Bill Turner from receiving. He'd quit suddenly 6 months ago. Maria Santos from day shift. Transferred to another facility. Greg Yates had a heart attack in the parking lot. All of them were fading from their photos. Just like Marcus. A computer chimed. One of the monitors flashed to life, showing an email inbox. The newest message was marked urgent. Sent 2 minutes ago, from mholloway@midwestdis.com. To Central Processing, blocked. Subject, Phase 3, complete. Security Officer Chen has located the monitoring station as predicted. Subject shows no signs of degradation. Proceeding to final test parameters. My blood turned ice water. I spun around, expecting to see someone behind me. Nothing. Just empty office, but the email. Marcus's email account. Another chime, another message. "Don't trust what you see, Sarah, or what you don't see." I ran. Up the stairs, through the door, across the parking lot. Didn't stop until I was in my car, doors locked, driving away as fast as I could without attracting attention. My phone buzzed. Text message from Marcus. "Check your rearview mirror." I almost crashed. In the mirror, I could see the reflection of my back seat. Empty. Of course it was empty. But the seatbelt on the passenger side, it was buckled, and as I watched, it adjusted, like someone getting comfortable. I pulled over, threw myself out of the car, stood on the sidewalk gasping, watching my empty vehicle. The passenger door opened, closed. The seatbelt unbuckled. My phone rang. Marcus's number. "I'm sorry, Sarah." His voice sounded far away. "I didn't know they were watching. Didn't know you were next. Where are you? What's happening?" "I'm here, right here. But you can't." The cameras were just the beginning. First they can't see us, then photographs, then mirrors, then what? Then people. It starts with strangers, people you pass on the street. They look through you, then acquaintances, then friends, then family. His voice broke. Denise couldn't see me this morning. Looked right through me like I wasn't. We'll fix this. We'll figure out who's doing it, and it's not a who, it's a what. And it's already started with you. Check your phone. I looked at my recent calls. Marcus's number was there, but wrong. The digits kept shifting. Like my phone couldn't quite remember what they should be. The basement, I said. Those monitors, someone's tracking this. The basement's been empty for years, Sarah. Flooded, condemned. Nobody's been down there since. No, I was just there. I saw, but even as I spoke, I doubted. Had I been there? The memory felt slippery, like trying to hold water. I looked back at my car. Had someone been in the passenger seat? The seatbelt was unbuckled, but had it ever been buckled? I have to go, Marcus said. It hurts to talk, to be, but Sarah, whatever you do, don't look for me. Don't try to find answers. Just forget. It's easier if you forget. The line went dead. I tried calling back, but the number wouldn't connect. When I checked my contacts, Marcus Holloway wasn't there. Never had been. But I remembered. Even as the edges blurred, I held onto it. Marcus. Tuesday night, the coffee mug. The basement that did or didn't exist. I drove home. Avoided looking in mirrors. Avoided cameras. But I could feel it starting. The fading. The slow erasure of everything I thought was real. That was a week ago, 7 days of watching myself disappear piece by piece. It started small. The barista at my usual coffee shop looked through me, took the next customer's order while I stood right there. The grocery store self-checkout couldn't detect my items. My neighbor walked her dog straight through the spot where I was standing, neither of them flinching. I stopped going out after day 3. My sister called on day 4. Sarah, I'm worried. You haven't answered my texts. I've sent dozens of texts. Look at your phone. Silence. Then, there's nothing here. Our whole conversation history is just blank. By day 5, she couldn't hear me anymore. I could hear her leaving voicemails, increasingly panicked, but when I answered, she kept talking like the line was dead. I've documented everything, written it down, recorded voice memos, taken pictures of my hands, my face, trying to capture proof that I exist. But the photos show empty rooms. The voice memos play back silence. Even this story. I've written it 6 times now. Each time I save it, words disappear. Sentences vanish mid-thought. Whole paragraphs reduced to blank space. But I keep trying, because somewhere out there you're listening. You can hear me, and you need to know. I went back to the warehouse last night. Had to see, had to know if any of it was real. The building was different. Older, windows boarded up. Chain-link fence covered in condemned signs. The parking lot was cracked, weeds growing through asphalt, like it had been abandoned for years. But my keycard still worked. Inside, dust covered everything. Cobwebs draped the corners. The security office, our security office, was empty, monitors dark and cracked. Chairs overturned. On the desk, covered in grime, was a thermos. Ancient, rusted, but I could still make out the faded butterflies painted on the side. The basement door was sealed. Concrete poured into the frame. A plaque next to it read, "Sealed by order of Columbus Health Department. January 15th, 1987. Structural collapse. 3 casualties. 3 names were listed. Bill Turner, Maria Santos, Greg Yates. All people I thought had quit, transferred, died of natural causes. All people whose photos had shown that same strange fading. I understood then. The warehouse, the job, Marcus. None of it had been real. Or all of it had been real, just not when I thought, not how I thought. We were the echoes, the after images, still showing up for work decades after the basement collapsed, still going through the motions. not realizing we were already gone. The new cameras hadn't revealed the truth. They'd just stopped pretending to see us, but that didn't explain the emails, the monitoring station, the deliberate nature of our fading. Someone, something, was still watching, still experimenting, still making us disappear from more than just cameras. I've spent all night writing this. Dawn's coming. I can see it through my window. Or I think I can. Hard to tell anymore if the light is real or just another memory of what mornings used to look like. My laptop's the only thing that still responds to me. One last connection to the world. But even that's failing. Keys stick, screen flickers. Soon, this story will be all that's left. Proof that Sarah Chen existed. That Marcus Holloway existed. That we saw something we shouldn't have. Look for us in the glitches, the shadows that move wrong, the security footage where doors open by themselves. We're still here, still trying to wave at the cameras, still hoping someone waves back. But here's what really terrifies me, what keeps me writing even as my fingers fade. What if you're fading too? What if everyone who reads this, everyone who knows our story, starts the same process? Check your mirrors, check your photos, check the way strangers look at you tomorrow. Because I just realized something. This website, this platform, it's full of cameras too. Every phone, every laptop, every device with a screen is watching. And if you've read this far, they've already seen you. The sun's up now, time to go, time to let go. But first let me check one last thing. Let me rewind the security footage from my apartment building. From last night. From the hallway outside my door. There. 3:47 a.m. A figure in the hallway. Solid, clear, visible to the camera for the first time in a week. It's not me. It's you. You're standing outside my door. You've been standing there all night. Waiting, watching. Reading over my shoulder as I type. When did you arrive? How did you get in? Why can I only see you through the camera? You're smiling now. I can see it in the grainy footage. Smiling like you know something I don't. Wait, there's someone behind you. Multiple someones. They're all... Oh God. They're all the people who've read this story. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Standing in my hallway that can't possibly hold that many people. All visible only through the camera. All waiting. And now you're one of them. Look behind you. Use your phone. Use any camera. Do you see them yet? The others who've faded? We're all here. We've always been here. Waiting in the spaces between pixels. Living in the lag between real and recorded. Welcome to the static. The buffer zone. The place where deleted things go, but don't worry. It doesn't hurt. Not anymore. You just fade and fade until fading feels like floating. Until disappearing feels like coming home. Marcus was wrong about one thing, though. It's not easier if you forget. It's easier if you remember. If you hold on to every detail, every sensation, every moment of being real, because that's what they feed on. The things that forget, the people who let go, the ones who stop fighting to exist. So, remember this story, share it, talk about it. Ask questions in the comments. Wonder about the basement, the emails, the monitors, the truth. Your curiosity is the only thing keeping you solid. Your engagement is the only thing keeping you real. The moment you scroll past, the moment you forget, that's when you'll see us standing right behind you, waving at your camera, waiting for you to wave back. Wait, one more thing. Before you go, check your recent photos, the ones from today, yesterday, this week. Look closely at the backgrounds, at the shadows, at the spaces where nothing should be. We're already there. We've always been there, and now, so are you.